This is West Tigers Radio, broadcasting live from just outside of CommBank Stadium in Parramatta. And Joel Helms here with you with Gary Watson and Declan McCutcheon. Boys, another exciting last-minute win.
Yeah.
100% last-minute win. I think I picked it before the game at our ambush event tonight that we're going to get away with a 1-point win. So I'm taking credit for that win.
I'm legit. I can't even put into words how I feel right now. It's just such a high going back-to-back weeks with winning field goals. Definitely not a feeling I'm used to.
And Luke Brooks kicking the field goal. You must be impressed, Declan.
I know, it's like we've entered another dimension, a parallel universe where these things happen to us, West Tigers fans.
Well, Declan, you raised a good point just at the end of the match. Have you seen a player make such a contribution as Jackson Hastings has made over the last couple of weeks? It's been pretty impressive, the change.
I mean, yeah, 100%. It's like he is definitely... He's playing like $1 million player at the moment. I mean, I know it's only been 2 weeks, but the difference he makes to the team. I mean, those tries he put on in the first half, which is really well executed team tries, and then the chat in defence, just a general presence. You could tell that the entire team just looked different, and I honestly can't even believe how much of a difference it is, honestly.
There's absolutely no doubt that this is Jackson Hastings' team. The way he directs the rest of the forwards around the park, organises the back line, and even his chat in defence. He's moving players in the defensive line. If you weren't at the game tonight, seeing the work that he does off the ball is amazing. We've got him on a 2-year contract. I'll be starting renegotiating a new contract right now.
Yeah, he'll certainly sleep well at night. He just never stops, does he? He's just the energy of the team, and he just seems to have brought the team alive in that way. Declan, what I liked about the performance was that realistically we never looked like struggling to score points. We pretty much, every time we got in their danger zone, we're more often than not came away with a try, which is so unlike us in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that teams adopt the personality of their halfbacks. So when you got someone like Jackson Hastings, who clearly, he knows his footy, he executes really well. I feel like that's really rubbed off on guys like Dane Laurie, who was really good in those backline moves, and even Starford Toa, when he went to fullback as well, he had some really nice touches as well. So yeah, it's just so good to see.
The disappointing thing though is it sounds like that Dane Laurie did his MCL tonight, which will put him out probably 6 to 8 weeks. Yep. I think he was starting to look really good. The extra space that our forwards and Jackson Hastings have created for him the last couple of weeks, he's really been able to put some polish on the end of our back line. So that's going to be a big loss moving forward.
I think it's a good point to raise, is that it was a gritty performance because we are missing some players, and then we lost Dane Laurie. We had Twal in the sin bin for 10 minutes. We had a lot going against us, but the boys just kept hanging in there.
Yeah, it was so good to see. I mean, I think it's one of those things where Madge always talks about that, doesn't he? He's been talking about it for the last 3 years, where they just need to grind and grit in defence, and we've never really seen it halfway up till now. But it's like honestly a miracle. I know I sound like my words aren't very well picked right now, but I'm honestly shocked at just how much of a turnaround this team has had. But it's just really good to see that they're finally been able to start playing Madge ball.
Well, on that topic, I do have a question on the spot for both of you. We've been quite critical of Madge on the podcast. Has your assessment changed over the past 2 weeks? Now we've got 2 wins in a row. And 2 fighting wins and the effort from the boys.
I think that if they keep winning, then you're obviously not going to make that change. So it's in Madge's, the ball is in Madge's court. I've liked what I've seen the last couple of weeks. It's been very different to what we saw the 18 months before that. So the proof of the pudding's in the eating. So I'm happy to stick so long as we're getting the results.
I mean, I reckon just holding at the moment, see how this run continues. Definitely, it's looking like you can't really make a decision until the end of the season, but I'm not buying Maz just yet, though.
I think it's probably got him to the end of the season, just the way we've played. Not just that we've scraped away with a couple of wins. Yeah. The fact that we've competed with high-quality teams, we've been playing decent football, and they played decent football, both Parramatta and South Sydney, in the games we played against them, and we still managed to get away with a win. I think that says a lot moving forward.
And I think that's the best part about this performance, is that it was identical to last week as well. I mean, I think we were in the podcast this week, I'm pretty sure we're all kind of looking at each other like, that was nice, but will they back it up again? I don't really know, but they 100% did. And full credit to Madge and the entire team and the entire club, because that's a really good sign going forward.
Especially with the short turnaround. Yep. So that was a 5-day turnaround. Yep. And if we were ever going to show up and put in a poor performance after a really good one, that short turnaround was prime for us to do that. So it's doubly impressive that they pulled off that performance that they did tonight.
Specifically on the game, I thought the first half, South were a little bit off. They dropped some ball. They're a little bit ill-disciplined at times. But, it was, and probably the 2-point lead at halftime sort of flattered South a little bit. I was a little bit worried when South came out of the blocks in the second half. There was certainly a much better performance from them in the second half. But as I said at the beginning, at times they looked dangerous, but we just seemed to have their number when we needed it.
South Sydney's line speed was quite good all through that second half. They were getting up in our face, and they actually limited our metres in that second half. I don't think we were making a lot of metres, but we kind of got out of trouble a few times with a couple of lucky penalties or a poor mistake from South, and that probably gave us the field position to get away with the win. So I would like to see us kind of keep pushing through the middle a little bit more in the second half, but there's not much you can really complain about after a game like that.
And how good was the execution though? It was kind of like Parramatta. I don't really feel like, maybe you can argue in the end of the first half that we were really camped down there, but other than that, I really thought we took our chances really well this game, which is something that we haven't really done in previous games.
Just back to Hastings. So before the match, Gary, you interviewed Adam Dewey, and you were talking about it. You asked him the question, where do you want to play? He said, I want to play in the 6 jersey. It's going to be hard for him to get back in the halves if this continues.
I don't see him coming back into the side in the halves if this continues. Luke Brooks was really good tonight, I thought, and he polished the game off with the field goal, some nice balls. So I thought he had a really strong game. So I think at the moment you're looking at Adam Dewey coming back at either in the centres or at lock, and that's if this continues. But the boys who are there now have had this next month in a little bit to kind of prove that they're the guys to keep the halves positions.
Declan, I thought James Tama was again impressive. He's backed it up a couple of weeks now, and he seems to have found a bit of a spring in his step.
Yeah, he was really, really good, wasn't he? I don't have his stats in front of me, but I thought that his first stint was really, really good, and he came back, and I think we really needed that kind of extra guy in the middle to kind of show that burst of energy, and I thought he provided it. But I feel like he's been low-key good this entire season, to be honest.
Yeah.
Going back to the trials.
Yeah, it's a completely different season to what we saw from him last year. That first stint, he pushed out at least 30 minutes. So that was a really good stint. And I was sitting next to Joel tonight and actually turned to him with about 25 minutes to go and said to him that we actually need James Tarmo back on.
Yeah.
And if I'd never thought I'd actually say those words, but he's that important to the team right now, and he's actually providing some real leadership out on the field as well, which is good to see. A complete turnaround in player between last year and this year.
But just looking at the stats, every middle forward ran for over 100 metres this game, except for McKaylee. So that just shows you just how committed they were, just like the Eels game.
Yeah, look, and I've got to give Zaid Musgrove a rap. He did well. Some nice runs.
Don't do that.
I didn't think I'd ever be saying that, but good. Congratulations to him. But I mean, just before the match, we lost to Alungi, and you could feel the oxygen sort of come out of the stadium a little bit when it was announced that Seyfarth was his replacement. But I thought Alex had a better than serviceable game. I thought he was quite good.
He was very good in defence. He was hitting quite hard tonight, which was good to see. I still think he lacks a little bit of punch, but I can't really complain. He had a really solid game, and coming in at the last moment, I don't think he's a second rower either, so having to play out on the edge is a little bit more difficult for him, I think.
And Luciano Leilua, you made the point, Gary, in the game. We're going to miss him. It's a shame, isn't it? He looked to be the only Tigers player that was able to push through the line.
And consistently, yeah. Every time he touches the ball, he looks like he's going to bust a couple of tackles. And I've said it a number of times now. I'd pay that money he was asking for at the end of last year if you had waited till now.
Yeah.
It's very disappointing. And I'll say he's really committed to the team. I think he was just about the last person off the field talking to fans tonight as well.
Yep.
So I was worried at the start of the season that he might kind of phone it in for the year. He most definitely hasn't done that.
We were a bit disappointed when Jake Simpkin was ruled out. Saw him in the moon boot during the warm-up, but I thought Jacob Little had a good game, one of his better games.
Yeah, I thought so as well. He did really well. He didn't really get any clean breaks, but what he did was he did poke his head through the line a lot, and his surface was pretty good as well. And I think Gary brought up that his HIO was probably good timing because it allowed him to kind of get that break that sometimes Madge doesn't really give him. So when he came back on, he looked pretty fresh. But yeah, I thought Jacob Liddell, he was pretty solid tonight.
Yeah, that HIA came at a really good time. There's never a good time for a head knock, but for him to actually get off, have that 10-minute break that he kind of had, and then get back on to finish the game, I think that worked out pretty much perfectly. And that's a free interchange, so it doesn't really affect your rotation. So maybe we should try and get him the lay down and a tackle about that 60-minute mark every week.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good ploy. He just had that little stumble, as you say, out of that tackle and got a nice 10-minute break. It was pretty good. The backs, I mean, Luke Garner did a good job defensively in the main. He's obviously not a full-time option there at centre. We looked to have obviously lacking a bit of spark there at times. But I mean, he held his own, didn't he, Gary? I thought he was all right.
He worked incredibly well in defence. He works hard. He didn't miss a tackle. He had backs running at him all night, trying to step inside him, and I don't think I saw him miss one of them. We're very impotent on that side in attack, though. Yep. We're really lacking in attack, and that's not his fault. He's a second rower filling a role out there, but we need a bit more potency out wide.
Yeah, I think we need a little bit more explosion in the back line, particularly in the centres, but then maybe also another forward in the middle. But yeah, just like in terms of recruitment, because you could tell that we have a lot of good workers, but just like Luciano Lillo was pretty much the only guy from the forwards and the back line looked like they could consistently dent the line of the Bunnies team.
Yeah, you could sort of, to that point, if you throw Stefano back in and Dewey back in, you're kind of ticking those boxes. I thought Stafford Toa was impressive. Obviously started in the centres, set up a couple, last balls for a couple of tries, and was okay at fullback. He's certainly not his most comfortable position.
But think about it, like last time when they played the Sharks, Laurie got COVID pretty much before the game, so he never really had a chance to prep. And then he got thrown in this time, so I reckon with a full week of training, I reckon that'll make a big difference to him next week if he gets named there.
His work on Noffa's final try in the corner was a really good ball. It was a little bit behind Noffa, but it was good enough to get the job done. But the way he sliced across and joined that back line was really impressive. He does need a lot of work under the high ball, though. He dropped another one tonight, so that's something I'd have him under the high ball all week this week.
So the $1 million question, and we were obviously a bit afraid to ask it last week, have we turned the corner? Is this a new dawn?
You know, I'm going to put cards on the table. I'm going to say yes, because I don't think that the team would defend like that if they hadn't turned some sort of corner. And I think Jackson Hastings, he brings confidence, and that's something that they probably didn't have in the first few weeks. So hopefully no one clips this, and then when we go on a 3-game losing streak after this, they bring it up.
The thing is, I think while ever we've got Jackson Hastings playing halfback, I think this is a team that can compete and will compete with a lot of sides. If he gets an injury or he misses some more games, I do worry about our structure and attack, because it's completely different when he's playing. So as long as Jackson Hastings is on the field, I think we're headed in the right direction.
So played against two teams that we would presume are top 8. The Dragons, traditionally, we have struggled against the teams we probably should win. So how are we feeling for that Dragons game next week? Is this, are we confident? Is it okay to be a West Tigers fan and be confident?
I still have nightmares of games past. Yeah. So there's still that kind of sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach that we'll put on 2 good performances, beat 2 teams that we shouldn't beat. Now, the Dragons, the way we're playing at the moment, the Dragons is a game we should win next week. So if you look over our history, it's the type of game we then turn around and lose.
Yep.
And talking about turning a corner, if we show up next week and we play the way we did this week, then that's a real sign that it's not just a little uptick on that corner. We're really starting to climb back up.
Standards are starting to sink,
Yeah, sink. I mean, it was, for the main, an 80-minute performance, which is the really most pleasing thing, because sometimes we've had little glimpses where we've been able to play good for 40, 50 minutes, but I thought the standard was a good 6 or 7 or maybe an 8 right through that game, which is nice to see.
And that's all you want from as fans, isn't it? Just for them to play to their potential and not fade away after 60 minutes, which we've seen in the past. So yeah, it was really when South scored and they went ahead in the second half, I thought, oh well, here we go. But credit to the team, they dug in and got the lead again.
I was quite worried during that last 20 minutes. Souths looked to be finishing a little bit stronger. My thoughts were that they were pushing through a lot better than we were. But for us to hang on and then get down there and have a couple of shots at field goal, not just one, but I think 3 in the end we had, and then for Luke Brooks to nail that last one, to get away with games like that. I was saying earlier in the year that losing becomes a habit. If we continue to play games like that, winning starts to become a habit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to do is we've recorded the interview that Gary did with Adam Dewey, so that'll go up as a podcast tomorrow, so look out for that, and of course make sure that everybody keeps leaving their comments and opinions on the West Tigers podcast forum, and the next edition of the podcast will be another happy one because it'll be a post-victory podcast in the middle of the week. Thank you guys, and it's been an enjoyable night here at Convict.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel.